Hello, everybody. We're going live for Tuesday Talks. Today we have an amazing soul called Leticia Francis. She helps you discover and align yourself with your true values. So let's get Leticia on here and get her to tell us her journey and what inspires her and what gets her keep going. So let's get. I see you there, and let me just.
Hello.
Hello, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I am great. Thank you very much for joining Tuesday Talks.
Thanks for having me.
So I've done a short introduction for you already, but you're the best person to elaborate and tell us more about yourself. So why not just start by letting us know who you are, what you do, and the biggest question that will start this conversation would be, why do you do it?
Okay, so my name is Leticia. I am a business mindset coach for Black female coaches. I help them sign consistent clients so they can get over their overwhelming frustration that comes with building a coaching business. I started my business as a life coach, if I'm honest. And my business has evolved in accordance to the needs of my audience. When I was focusing on building confidence, my audience was telling me that they wanted to start businesses. So I transitioned. I spent 5 years in business development in a corporate environment. So I transitioned and I used those skills to help women build businesses. And once I did that, most of the people that were coming to me were coaches. So I narrowed my niche even more, focusing on coaching and using my journey of failing hard and fast to help others work through their fears so that they can show up and be impactful.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. What an amazing transition. So you were initially a coach already, but then we're asking you. I think you have the calling. Like if your people are asking you to coach on a certain direction, then yes, you've recognized it and you pivoted, and then also within that pivot moment, you also then niched a bit more further down. So the coaches who need coaching as well. So people listening to here, this is also a good point to understand that coaches need coaches as well.
Absolutely.
So that everybody needs some sort of guidance and some sort of support uh, for say. So the coaches who need coaches does not mean they do not know what they're doing. They just probably have reached so far from what they know and now need another coach to support and guide the journey which now goes further, right?
Absolutely. I think most coaches will tell you that they want to coach. They don't want to deal with the business end. But unless you're dealing with the business end, you're just running a glorified hobby. So I want to help my clients be impactful, do the coaching, but also be successful so that their business can create the freedom that they desired.
Wow, that is so wonderful, and you've been doing it very wonderfully, and I've been checking out your Instagram page. You're always there. You're always showing up as well, and I quite like the theme as well. It's very monochrome in the color wise, so it's quite niche as well, and I quite like it. And goes with this is me just thinking outside the box. Is it specifically done that way because you're niche down to Black women?
No, my business is named Black Rose Coaching, right?
Okay.
Black Rose to me symbolizes death. And death in my business means the death of old habits and negative narratives that keep us stuck. So that monochrome aesthetic is really just an extension of my branding. That black and white really it signifies, the deeper meaning of my business.
I love that. I love that. That's actually good. Very cool in terms of So that's the death of the old and then rebirth of the new, right? So so you leave this behind, and we're gonna be start on the new journey. Which initially, what happens when you join a coach and you undergo uh, their learning and so forth, right? That's amazing. So I mean, share with us, the your story. What's the story behind you doing all this?
So, in my early life, I went through a significant period of self sabotage and spiraling significantly. It landed me in jail, and a coach is what actually helped me to change my life. It helped me to change my thinking. So when I was in my corporate role and finding myself completely unfulfilled as a result of stepping into expectations that weren't necessarily mine, I spent a lot of time reflecting on what I can do to be impactful. And I was reminded about how much my life changed as a result of working with a coach, which is why I went into coaching. Now, my transition into business coaching and focusing on Black women in particular was again based on my journey. I was working in a top five Lloyd's of London insurance syndicate as a foreign Black woman. I was never given the respect that I was due. I was diminished as a person because people were uncomfortable with my confidence in the skills that I brought to the table in my work. People were threatened by me. And I had to step back for a second and think, is this what I want for the rest of my life? Showing up wholeheartedly, working hard for someone who does not appreciate it. And it reminded me of my mother. I watched my mother for 27 years in a role that she absolutely hated. She did it because it allowed her to have the time that she wanted with her children. And I remember being 16, 17, questioning that. Like, is that what we're supposed to be doing? Like, is that what we do for the rest of our lives? Just do what makes us unhappy? And I remember vowing that would never be me. However, 20 years later, that's exactly what it was. And I made a decision to rewrite that narrative because I have two girls and I do not want them to spend 20 years of their life miserably building someone else's dreams while theirs sit on the shelf. So my journey to stepping out and really helping Black women in particular is we experience workplace trauma significantly. It diminishes the way that we view ourselves. It stops us from really going after our dreams. So for me, identifying that I had to experience that workplace trauma, I felt it was my place and my duty to help other people, other Black women, overcome that so that they can be successful. Selfishly, I want to see Black women win. I want to see Black women off the bottom of the totem pole. So what I do in my business, I also have a podcast that is focused on Black women making a transition from side hustle to full-time entrepreneurship. It's really about rewriting those narratives that we as Black women have been pushed into in society. We're expected to show up and show out and do what we've got to do, but we're also expected to be quiet. We're also expected to be domiciled. And I'm not that person. I have always had a lot of opinion and a big mouth, not afraid to say it. So now I'm taking what people have always considered threatening in me and using it to motivate other women to step out and do what they need to do for themselves.
Wow, I love that, and thank you for sharing that. And you also obviously shared the vulnerability in that story that is there. It's so current. I mean, it still happens, even though the me being in UK as well, and still being in the corporate industry, though they try to showcase the diversity and inclusion as the buzzword is nowadays everywhere. The inclusion is there. but you know that in the background, it is there. The biases are still there. Though those you cannot can rid of them by words and having that place on the desk or on the table that you deserve, especially if it's like they're used to having more men in that place, in the workplace, right? The and how I see it as well, they get threatened by, because then now they say, "Whoa, who is this person who's just come along and actually knows more, and is not afraid to share it, and is not afraid to tell us if we are wrong." Because that's another thing, huge thing in the corporate world. Even though you are trying to be corporately correct, that's a buzzword that happens around in corporate world. You know, politically correctness in the corporate world would be, oh yeah, you need to respect and be quiet, even though if you're not happy about certain things, and you're like, well, no, if it's not working out, it's not working out. We need to voice it, not just stay quiet and deal with it. And 100%, women get more of it than the men's side in the work industry and everything. And it's amazing that you've decided to raise that voice, and especially for Black women as well. I mean, the ethnic minorities in general are challenged in this situation to climb up the corporate ladder. There's a certain level you'll see them till, and after that, there's no sign. You know, and we all know those positions are always they're there for 100 years before before somebody dies. That's when you get that position anyway. So
Mm-hmm.
by that time, you're happy, and you're made to feel that you already achieved quite a lot. Also, which I'm sure they try to make you feel as well, that you've achieved quite a lot now. So just take your position, be happy that you are here, and life goes on. Hey, go out there and have fun, right? Uh, but we're designed to do more. We're designed to do more. We should be claiming more. We should stake our stand wherever we can, and on good merit, on us knowing what we are doing, on and excelling it. So you're now deciding to help other Black women to get their presence known and go ahead and do this is amazing. So how has that been when you decided to pivot into this niche? How was that journey? Should be challenging.
It actually hasn't been challenging. I think the biggest challenge for me is working through the narratives that I had. If I go this route, I'm not going to get paid. If I focus only on Black women, I'm going to struggle to make money. And that hasn't been the case. What I've heard from my clients and the people, hi, Dominica, and the people that follow me is that they appreciate the representation. They appreciate someone speaking in a language that they can understand, and not to discredit anybody, but a lot of people overlook the importance of representation. Even when it came down to starting my podcast and doing market research, because my podcast is just as niche, I only focus on Black women. And people are like, well, why do you need to focus on Black women? Why are your challenges different from mine? And there is this almost ignorance, if I'm honest. But the people who I serve, the people that I show up for, they appreciate someone voicing an opinion and speaking out in the words that they may be scared to speak out. Like, one of the things that I do quite often is call the corporate environment a plantation. Most people think that when I use that terminology, they think that I'm using it in a racially fueled way. No, it is a plantation. You have people out there working hard. The owners of the companies are the ones that are sitting on the porch drinking the sweet tea while we work hard. I'm not about that life, right? If I'm going to put in that effort, if I'm going to put in that energy, I'm going to do it for myself. I'm going to do it for someone who can appreciate it. And like you said, even though we now have space at the table, the table wasn't built for us, right?
100%, 100%.
And I think we have become comfortable with the expectations that society placed on us, right? From young, we're told to get a good education, get a good job. And when you get that good job, you go in, you shut up, you put up so that you can climb up this corporate ladder. But why am I climbing up a ladder that was not made for me? Why can't I make my own ladder and make that look the way that I want to look? And I think so many of us are afraid of that. So for me, stepping out and saying, listen, you do not have to slave on the plantation. If you are making someone else money, you can make money for yourself. And that is appreciated from my peers. That is appreciated.
And that is so amazing, and I love this part as well. You know, it just reminded me somebody that I know as well, and he's got two daughters, and since he had those two daughters, he's working hard, but certain things that he's saying, I pick up on it. I haven't pointed it out to this person, but he now tells them that you need to work hard. He's already teaching them how, you know, they're very little, I will say, about reception age and all that. So, and he's already telling them, you know, you need to work this, do that. You need to be working hard because you're in a school that you're the only mixed race person here. And so I'm thinking, well, that's quite early. I have a daughter, mixed race daughter as well, because we're mixed here. And I've not said anything, these kind of things. I said, you know, all I said is you have opportunity to do what you want. You have opportunity to do what you want. You want this? Okay, go and get it. Go and get it. So now she is in a position, she's 14 now. She's in a position, she doesn't shy away from going and getting what she wants. But so that kind of mindset, if the person I know is doing, they're gonna be working hard to climb that ladder just because they've been told that, okay, this is not built for you. You need to work hard to showcase that you deserve this. Well, everybody deserves it on merit. If you're capable of doing what you need to do, the position is yours, the chair is yours, the seat, whatever that is, right? That's how I see it, and that's how it should be anyway. So it's an early mindset as well, which I also picked up from your conversation here. So your clientele who are appreciating those voices that you are voicing now, because they wanted to voice that, you know, at one point when they started to come out and go to the world and do their things, society was like, hang on a minute, you just need to go this way now and do this and do that, and this is the bubble you stay, right?
Absolutely. I want to speak a little bit more about that conditioning. I think it's more than a mindset, it's a conditioning. And that's something that I've had to unlearn. I've come into my business and burnt myself out because I believed that I had to work 3 times as hard to get what I wanted, right? And while in society that is true, the opportunities, I mean, we can be naive and say that, you know, if we want a seat, it's ours. But the reality is, particularly as Black women, it's not. And we have to go in and work twice as hard for half as much, right? But I think it's important to address the conditioning because that is something that myself, my clients, a lot of people struggle to unravel, particularly in entrepreneurship, that hard working mentality, right? Yes, you don't get me wrong. You do have to work hard when you are building a business, but there tends to be less grace when you've been conditioned from birth that you have to do so well in order to be successful. There is no grace with that conditioning, which then leads to burnout. And a lot of us have burnt out in our careers, and then we still come into our business and burning out because we are so married to that conditioning. So I applaud you for, you know, telling your children, you know, you can have anything that you want rather than, you know what, if you want something, you have to kill yourself to get it.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, I'm also, you know, part of that conditioning from you know, my family is like, you have to work hard, you need to get this, you know, it's a narrative that gets passed down, but when I actually started doing for myself, I realized actually you do not need to work hard. Okay, yeah, hard work is required. There's a certain degree of hard work is, like when people go to gym to look good in the physique, stay healthy and all that. So that, that is all hard work. That work is required. So that hard work is required, but not to the point that you are burning yourself out for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
You're to the point, like there was a point in my life that I was not seeing my family. I was spending, well, we all spend more time with work colleagues than your families, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you only see them on the weekend, but weekend you're so tired that they were actually going out. You're like, yeah, you guys can go out. I'm gonna catch up on my sleep, right? And come Sunday, I'm like, right, Sunday I need to start preparing for Monday, right? So I'm staying ahead of the stuff, and then like it'd be like, okay, we don't see you anymore. What's happening here? To that point, then I was like, yeah, this is not right. If this is happening, this is not right. And then I started to unravel what things I was doing, what is important to me, what's not important to me, what's working, what's not working, and then separate myself from work to family life. They say work-life balance because that's another buzzword that goes around workplaces a lot. Initially, I always say there is no work-life balance if you are relying on your work to give you that. What do you think the work wants? Work wants you to work. They don't care about your family. Yeah, they will care about your family in front of you, but initially they want you to make sure that deliver everything which is successful for their business, right? Again, they're a business. That's what they need. And you've decided to join and support them with that, right? So they're counting on your 100%, maybe 120% support sometimes, which doesn't really matter what happens to you because, again, you're just there. You volunteered to be there, support it. You're going to support there in return. They're going to pay you for your time. And that's what it is. This is, if a person realizes that, because that's the biggest realization of that you have actually chosen to be there. It's not your employer's fault for asking you to do X, Y, Z, because they were going to ask whoever joins the company, do the same what you are doing, right? You've now decided to be there. So it's your responsibility now to find that work-life balance and say, hang on a minute, this is my time off now. I won't be able to do this. This will be delivered, so forth, and that time, right? And this is where you start. It's very difficult to say that because you want to be in good books and all that stuff. You have to learn to say no for the first time on good things. Did you ever have to experience that side of things when you have to like say no to a certain project where you are already swamped with work?
One thing about me, I have no problem saying it. I am a firm believer that we work to live, not live to work. And I've had many occasions where I've been called into HR because I leave at 5 o'clock on the dot. That's what you pay me for. You don't pay me for 6 to 7. You don't pay me for 8 to 9. You don't pay me to work weekends. In my contract, it says my hours are XYZ. So I've always been one. I get there at 9. I leave at 5. And whatever happens after that is on you. Because one thing I do know, if I work myself to death, you will send my family flowers. But before you do that, you'll be advertising for my role.
100%.
And I will not be putting myself into an early grave for someone else's dreams. So for me, yes, I've always been able to set boundaries. I'm not, unless you're paying me overtime, I'm not staying past what is contracted. And I think I'm just a nonconformist anyway. But I see where the conditioning that we talked about earlier on presents a problem. Because if we believe that we have to work so hard, we have to pour everything into our jobs, then that's what we're going to do. And the company is going to take advantage of that. Because at the end of the day, you're helping them reach their goals faster. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about what I do. Because I know my clients are those women who've worked hard to build someone else's dreams. And I want to encourage them to work just as hard to build their own because their success is literally in their hands.
That is so amazing. You know, the success is in literally in their hands. And I've seen on your IG as well and Facebook. There's so many success stories that's been shared. So it's amazing to hear that your work, it's 100% out there, flourishing and making them be successful and stand out as the women they're supposed to be, right? And how does that felt for you when you had that sort of success at the beginning, when you had your first uh, niche success?
It feels amazing. I tell everybody I feel like a soccer mom and my child just scored a hat trick. Okay. Like I'm celebrating on the sidelines because I want to see my clients win. So, you know, as you can imagine, as a business owner, there are so many things that you have to overcome your own thoughts, your own doubts about yourself. And I think particularly when shifting niches, there's a little bit of uncertainty there. So that to then see my clients thrive as a result of me taking a gamble on myself, me working through my self doubt, me working through my hesitations. I think that's what self actualization is about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Being in a place that no matter what you're going through, you're still trying to help someone else. And I'm not saying I'm self actualized, I'm not saying that at all. But I think that is the purpose of life, being impactful. I say it all the time. I end my podcast every week saying this: walk as if every step you take is about to create an avalanche because you're here to change the world. And I truly believe that. So for me, showing up and doing what I'm going to do, regardless of what's going on in my head, because I want to be impactful, there's a big reward when you see your impact in life, in real life.
I love that. I love that. And I can already imagine. It's already the feeling that you get of seeing other people being successful and getting unstuck is the main thing, right? Because you going through that process already and then helping another person also getting through that hurdle and overcome those challenges is always amazing to see. So when you had to pivot and get down to your niche and help specifically the Black women, was there certain routines that you picked up on, or is there, as some people even call it, rituals that you have still going with you, that something you do first thing in the morning and nighttime or afternoon? Do you take time out to breathe? Things like that.
Well, I'm not a breather. But I am a person that believes in a gratitude attitude, right? Like, I am grateful for everything, even things that may appear to be going against me. I practice gratitude because I strongly believe that everything that happens in life is meant to happen, and we don't see it until later. But being able to trust that process and being grateful along the way helps make it easier. And then it also keeps me in an abundance mindset. I'm not worrying about what I don't have, I'm worrying about what I do have. But one of the things that I implemented late last year that I think has been life changing for me is sleep meditation. So again, I bought some sleep headphones because, listen, laying down with headphones is so uncomfortable, right? And I listen to meditations for 8 hours a night. And they are like wealth and prosperity meditations, really rewiring my subconscious. That's where the work happens, in your subconscious, right? So for me, that is an important part of my day. Having those rituals, having that meditation. I wake up in a better space. I am not a morning person. So that has changed my life, just not waking up grumpy because of these meditations. But no, also it's I am actively trying to rewire my subconscious because I understand how powerful it is. And if we don't address what's going on in our minds, it makes it very hard for us to change, right? Because like 90% of our thoughts are thoughts that we have yesterday. We are literally recycling negativity if we're sitting in negative land, right? So I want to do my best to make sure that the thoughts that I'm having today and tomorrow are ones that are serving me.
And I love that actually, and it's very good to hear that you're doing the sleep meditation part of thing, and gratitude. Every person, every guest that has come across here has mentioned the gratitude part. So it goes to explain, the gratitude side of things is so important because it also grounds us to realize what you have achieved since you started your journey of realization of your entrepreneurship or whichever journey you're on, because we get focused onto the negative, as you were saying. Negative thoughts are always there, and we are always focused onto them more quickly than the positive ones, and then we end up feeding the negative thoughts more time. You're like, hey, go more time, tell me more about it, and you're like, no, we shouldn't be doing that. We should be going through gratitude in terms of what you're happy about today, what you grateful for today. It could be as simple as you say you're waking up better in the mornings now, even though you're not a morning person. That is amazing, right? So it's there. So that's the biggest grateful you can be to start with. Is small and big at the same time, and those little things will get rid of the negative thoughts, and the next day you would be already thinking of your positive thoughts that you or the thoughts that need to serve you to get you to where you need to go to have a successful day or a day closer to where you want it to be, because every day you're meant to be closer to your goal, to your realization, to your journey, wherever you're heading, but that can only happen if you are actually intentionally doing it, right? That's what I'm also hearing from your conversation, is that it has to be done intentionally, so you are
Mm-hmm.
aware of it. You need to do that, which is great to hear. I also just remembered whilst you were just telling me that you have journals that you designed. So is that something you also do then, to then come up with a nice, and they're very nice. I had a look at them. They're very nice. I'm nearly there to order one, but I was like, I will order because when I need it in the summertime, the one I have currently is gonna finish. So like that's where I'm going.
Yes, the journals was something, part of my daily routine is writing down my gratitude. I also write down my intentions for the day because I think it's important to live intentionally, act intentionally. Life is not about throwing spaghetti at the wall, right? It's being very clear on the directions that we're taking, even if we have to pivot along the way. But so that journal was really me just writing down my morning routine, my morning and evening routine, so that I could share it with other people. Like sitting down, writing down my intentions, writing down my goals for today, writing down what I'm grateful for, and then in the evening time, reflecting on my day. What can I do better? Right? Life is about reflection. If you spend the time to reflect, you arm yourself with the opportunity to change your direction. So reflection is important. And so my grateful reflections journal is just that. My routine for keeping myself on track, which I'm sharing with everyone.
And I love this 100%. I will agree with that. Process is actually an amazing process of starting your day with how you want the day to be like, writing things down, then reflecting upon it as well to see, did it actually go that way? If not, why? What can now you do, because you now have the hindsight of, right, what can I now do so that tomorrow is better and these things are not repeated? um, Otherwise, as you said, it's just throwing spaghetti on the wall and then expecting it to have an art work out at the have an amazing artwork. Uh, but it's great to see that. So is there anything, any books that you read as well, which also, you know, food for thought kind of thing, right? So which also encourage you to do things and move forward.
The Alchemist was life changing. Alchemist. That book really helped me see that nothing is lost along my journey, right? Nothing that I experience is something that I can throw away. It always gives me an opportunity to learn and grow and to then stay grounded in what I'm doing. Sometimes we get lost on the process, right? We get lost on the journey. Like we kind of forget why it is we're doing what we're doing. And I think that book really helped me to commit to taking inspired action, right? I believe what I'm doing is my purpose. And when I look at everything that I've been through my entire life, right? I now see why I had to go through that in order for me to be here today. And yeah, The Alchemist definitely has changed a lot about how I show up in my business. You know, I was a person that used to weigh my pros and cons and then let my cons outweigh my pros so I can talk myself out of doing stuff. And I've committed to taking inspired action. My podcast was a result of inspired action. I woke up with this burning desire to start a podcast. So I followed it. I didn't know what it was going to look like. I said, I'm just going to commit to taking messy action and see how things pan out. Things are working out really well because I learned to trust my intuition. I think what that has taught me over anything is getting really grounded in the fact that I can trust myself, right? One of the things that I see so often is we are willing to trust someone else, right? So we follow the gurus. The gurus tell us to jump on two legs and we'll make 100 grand in 6 days, right? And we're willing to do that. But we wake up every single day with this idea that we will talk ourselves out of. We need to learn to trust ourselves. And for me, that's been the biggest eye opener along this journey. Learning to trust myself. I mean, who knew?
That's actually amazing, and thank you for sharing that book. I've not read it, so it's something I'll put it down on my list. Or I say list. I don't really have a list of things to do, but because I don't believe in list, because list is you're writing things down that you're saying to yourself, when I get time, I will do this. When I get time, I'll do this. That's my belief on the list. So I schedule everything. Everything is scheduled to the point my breaks and my day, the whole little things are scheduled to even to the time when I need to eat. Like is scheduled because it'll come up on my calendar that you know, time to eat. So I then intentionally will get up, stop everything, and I've switched it off and I've moved to eat because it's scheduled now. Right? If it was on the list saying, "Oh, I need to have lunch," you know what's going to happen. I will put it aside.
You
I'll say,
forget
oh
about
yeah,
it
yeah,
sometimes.
this is more important what I'm still doing, and hence I don't do the list. I mean, list works for certain people and certain. So what's your take on that as well? Is list or scheduling?
If you're not in my calendar, I'm too busy for you. And like
Wonderful.
I even look at our conversation. I remember when you reached out to me and I was like, wait a minute, you're not on my calendar. Like when did we have this conversation? Right? Because I live and die by my calendar. So I am the same as you. Like that runs my day, but it also helps me to stay accountable to the things that I promise myself.
Yeah, what exactly my saying as well. You know, I add on to it. It's like what gets scheduled gets done. If it's not scheduled, it's something I might have just said maybe too. You know, maybe we will have it. Yeah, and I remember that your reply to me, and I was like, when I read it, I was like taken aback for a minute. I'm like, oh, somebody just replied like me. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm like, I took a screenshot of the booking when you did. I'm like, here, there, it is here. Maybe you didn't save it on your calendar because I know, you know, sometimes if I don't save things on calendar, but I have committed, and it doesn't
Hmm.
then appear on my calendar. So, but I can see that the booking is there. I had to go through emails, but it was there, and I can say, okay, yeah, this is good. So it's gonna happen. You know, it's a scheduled person who has a schedule. And
Yeah.
I also knew that you're very busy in terms of schedule and things because you're you're a very hard person to reach out to a couple of times. So like, no reply, but I'm seeing you there. I'm like, but no reply. I'm like, oh, must be busy, isn't it? So with your clients, your commitments that you have, and everything. So, but here we are finally, and I'm grateful for your time here on Tuesday Talks. We should be wrapping this up now in a few minutes. What would you like to say to the listeners who are listening now? This will be posted in some time in the future as well on as a podcast gets converted on everywhere that podcast is available. But it will stay on IGTV as a recording as well there, so for all the future people to watch. So what would you like to say to them who are watching now and in the future?
I would like to say that your success is dependent on your belief in yourself. So get rock solid about believing that you can have everything that you desire and your success will follow.
Wow, that's actually amazing, and I think even I would have been able to say that that's the best advice I've ever heard so far now. So that's actually good. Thank you very much for your time. If people wanted to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Um, Instagram is the best way to reach out to me, Black Rose Coaching, as you can see here. But I also have another Instagram channel or profile called Choosing Her Hustle Podcast. And those are conversations for Black women by Black women about the transition from side hustle to full-time entrepreneurship. Episodes drop weekly on Sundays.
Oh wow, I love that. I love that. So it's pretty much transitioning from an employee mindset to an entrepreneurial mindset, and I love that because a lot of entrepreneurs who pivot to become entrepreneurs, they were employees before, have if it has have a mindset of just how everything was given to them as an employee, right? Oh, this is the task, this is this. So when they become an entrepreneur, they're like lost. They don't know. They have to create a system that then can work for them, and you're obviously helping with that. So definitely everybody who's listening to now, follow Leticia on her channels that were mentioned, and reach out. And I'm sure you have. Do you have any courses coming up, or how you're able to help them? Is it one-to-one coaching or group coachings?
I currently do one-to-one coaching. And I am also in the process of working on a storytelling bootcamp. This actually is my 135th podcast appearance since last year, July. And I have mastered the art of telling my story. So now I'm sharing that skill with others, and that boot camp starts April 26th.
Oh wow, wonderful. Okay, so that's April 26th, and this is 2022. Just in case the podcast is posted later on, and
Yeah.
but I'm sure that bootcamp would be an ongoing success. Obviously, they can still reach out to you if the bootcamp is going in the future, which will be, I'm sure, 100%. But congratulations on that! So many storytelling podcasts that you've appeared on. So that is amazing. I would like to say thank you for your time, and thank you very much for everybody who has joined us to listen live, and everybody who's listening this later on the podcast format or IGTV. Thank you. The only thing I will say to
Thank
everybody
you.
who is now listening to this is, if you found any inspirational moment, or you had a light bulb moment, and you thought, wow, this is amazing, or had a spark, it's now your duty to share this episode with somebody else, because we shouldn't keep the inspiration with us. We should share it with whoever came in your mind whilst you were listening, or a spark moment, and you think, hang on, I should share it with this person. Just share it or tag it, because we do not know who's just woken up or gone to bed thinking of a better day. And if you had a spark, it might start a spark in them as well, because it's all about inspiring the other person to take that step, which Leticia also is helping with doing that. So thank you very much, and thank you very much everybody else.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye bye.